You're welcome on today's show. It's nice to have you join us. This is Political Spectrum coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. And I remain your host, Onumese Ehinoma Olusegun. All right, first, on the President administration's calendar, today is December 7th. It's a Thursday, 2023, and it marks exactly 194 days of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is now exactly 6 months and 12 days as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Of course, we know that a lot of you guys are preparing for the Yuletide, and this is the last month of the year. So let's quickly begin from home. As they say, charity begins at home. We start in Akwa Ibom. On the issue of the expiration of local government councils, Akwa Ibom Assembly has empowered Pastor Umweno to set up an interim administration. Now, in Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly on Wednesday passed a resolution empowering the state governor, Pastor Umweno, to set up interim administration in 31 local government councils. The resolution followed a letter sent to the Assembly by the governor seeking the dissolution of local government councils and empowering him to set up interim administration since the 2023 budget had no provisions to fund elections, with the assurance that the 2024 appropriations provision has been earmarked to conduct election in the Akwa Ibom State Independent Electoral Commission. Now, leading the debate, Deputy Leader Right Honorable Otobong Bob noted that the tenure of councils will be expiring that night, and since there shouldn't be a vacuum, a resolution should be passed authorizing the governor to set up interim administrations for councils pending when funds will be available for the conduct of elections. Let's take a look at a few of the videos of the proceedings in the House.
Mr. Speaker, sir, resolution authorizing the governor to constitute interim administration in the local government areas. I write to request that the House of Assembly passes a resolution authorizing me to constitute interim administration in the local government areas of our state, pursuant to Section 5, Sub 2 of the Local Government Administration Law 2017. The 2023 budget made no provision for local government elections, and so there were no funds appropriated for that purpose. The 2024 budget proposal, which I have presented before the House, is currently undergoing sectoral defense and breakdown by the respective MPs before passage. The term of office of the incumbent local government chairman has expired, as the council stand resolved by virtue of Section 5, Subsection 1 of the Local Government Administration Law 2017. Akwa Ibom State Independent Electoral Commission, AKISI, has commenced the process leading to the announcement of the dates for election of new chairmen of local government councils. I am therefore left with no alternative but to set up interim governance in the local government pending the holding of the elections as proposed by AKISI. I trust, Mr. Speaker, that my application will be favorably considered. Accept the assurance of my best regards. Signed, Pastor Umweno, Governor, Akwa Ibom State.
And I speak for the good people of Tinubu State constituency, including His Excellency, the Governor of Section 5 of the Private States Local Government Administration Law passed by this Honorable House in 2017. And in that law, if we go to Section 5, Sub 2, where it reads, where at the expiration of the tenure created in subsection 1, the House of Assembly by resolution shall authorize the governor to constitute interim administration to be called transition committee for each local government from time to time, where he considers that it is not practicable to hold elections into local government council. His Excellency has given us his reasons. He clearly states that in the 2023 budget which we are currently operating, that no provision was made for the local government elections which would have ordinarily been held earlier on this year. But we're also aware that the ACISEC had commenced the process leading to the election. But the issue is the issue of funding. So this shows that His Excellency has complied with due process. So in setting up the interim government in the local government councils by virtue of the resolution of this House, His Excellency would be acting in consonance with the laws of our private state. And like Mr. Speaker has said, in government there should be no vacuum.
All right, also speaking, the member representing Etim Okpa-Ika, Right Honorable Mfo Idong, called on the House that the duration should not exceed 6 months. The motion to pass the resolution was moved by the Deputy Leader, Right Honorable Otobong Bog, you have just seen, sitting Section 5, Sub 2 of the Local Government Administrations Law, and was seconded by the Chief Whip, Sir Effiong Johnson. Now, the Speaker, in his submission, noted that it was expedient that there shouldn't be a vacuum in the administration of the local government system, and therefore commended the governor was acting right. He called on clerk, Mrs. Nsikabasi Orok, to communicate the resolution of the Assembly to the Executive. Now, the House has been adjourned to 14th of December. Let's take a listen to the Speaker of the House. All right, moving to the next development. Court summons the humanitarian minister on predecessor's account. Now, the Federal High Court, Abuja, presided over by Justice Nkoye Maha, recently summoned the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Dr. Betta Edu, to appear and give full account of how her ministry spent 538.5 million for school feeding during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown as far back as 2020. That's about 3 years ago. Now, the program carried out by the then Minister Shadia Umar Farouk outraged Nigerians who wondered how such activity was possible when all schools closed down and children sent home to join their families in the pandemic lockdowns. Now, despite criticisms, Farouk went ahead to spend the said amount. Now, a concerned activist group, the Kingdom Human Rights Foundation, KHRF, instituted the Freedom of Information Act 2011, inquiry to get the details of the spending from the former minister, which she ignored until she left office in May 2023. Now, the group which claimed that the school feeding was a scam, cover-up, and well-articulated fiction to embezzle public funds went to court in line with the Act's requirement to obtain a legal mandate to ensure that the details of the spending were made available to the public. Now, with a new appointee in charge of the ministry, it would have been ideal to have the former minister come in person, perhaps along with the incumbent, to clear the air, since she was the one who carried out the controversial program. Now, a former minister who ignored the FOIA inquiries can easily refuse to respond to queries from the current occupant of the office, who obviously may not know the whole story about the spending. Now, only a direct court summon on former Minister Umar Sadia Farouk will enable the judge and the Nigerian public to get all the answers they need to give the case a proper closure. Now, we hope appropriate steps will be taken in that direction. Well, let's take a listen to the video. Nigerians are watching this case because of the amount of dust that it had raised, since 2020 when it was made public. Now, this is more so, especially as this is the first instance when an official in the Muhammadu Buhari regime will be called out to account for an aspect of her duty tour. This case has once again highlighted the importance of social groups in a democratic society such as ours. It also shows the importance of the FOIA, that's the Freedom of Information Act, which has remained largely unutilized despite its capacity as a tool to hold public officials to account. Now, without these social leverages, it would have been almost impossible to bring Umar Farouk to account, since she is a member of the ruling APC, which controls the current federal government. We commend the advocacy group for their tenacity and urge them to follow this case without compromising till the truth behind the school feeding under lockdown is made known to the public. Now, there you have it. The media has always shouted that most of these civil society organizations can take advantage of the Freedom of Information Act to cause government officials, government appointees, or elected government officials to give account of their stewardship in terms of how they have spent public funds. Only very few civil society organizations like Budget, like Serap, like Tracker, like Enough is Enough, and a few other advocacy groups like Open Forum here in Akwa Ibom State have taken advantage of this Freedom of Information Act. And we urge more civil society organizations, especially those who are concerned about public accountability, to always utilize this act. All right, let's move to the next very gory story, if you would allow me. We are moving into Kogi State now, where gunmen were reported to have attacked a Kogi gubernatorial election tribunal secretary to steal petition documents. Now, Kogi State Police Command has confirmed that gunmen attacked the Secretary Governorship Election Tribunal, Mr. David Umar Mike, on Monday in Lokoja, and made away with sensitive petition documents on the just concluded gubernatorial elections in the state. Now, according to the State Police Public Relations Officer, PPR Onoha Bertrand, has promptly ordered a thorough investigation into the incident. The police command has called on the public to refrain from making statements that could potentially prejudice the ongoing investigation. And a lot of things begin to creep up in the minds of people. Of course, we know that sometime in November was the election, and by the normal electoral act, you are supposed to present your petition 21 days, maximum 21 days, window to be able to write your petition if you are dissatisfied with the conduct of the election. And we can see that is well over 21 days, which means that probably the political parties had submitted all their petitions, but a lot of questions will come to mind. Who is interested in making sure that these petitions do not see the light of the day? Then how would they have gotten information about such sensitive documents being in the hand of the tribunal secretary? Then the final question that comes to mind is, are we really going to be coming out of this quagmire when it comes to desperacy at holding on to the reins of power? All these questions are the questions lingering in the minds of the average Nigerian onlooker. All right, we'll take a short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back to continue on some of the developments. Many thanks for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, it's Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. Remember that you can always show your opinions about the developments that we bring on the show via our social media handles. Remember to follow us at Spectrum T online. Follow me at Austin Honor, and you're sure that when you place your comments, we're sure to respond, highlight, or even retweet. We also have our platforms on YouTube, where this program is being streamed live. And there's also a live streaming on our website, www.spectrumtvlive.ng, where all the contents, present and past contents, you can always have access to them. All right, if you're just tuned in, we've had about 3 developments. I'll be moving real quick as we continue. Now we go to the Supreme Court. Yes, we have information that 11 justices have scaled the Nigerian Judicial Commission hurdle, and they await President Tinubu's approval. Now, we will inform you that the National Judicial Council of Nigeria has picked 11 justices that will fill the vacant positions at the Supreme Court. Now, the Constitution prescribes 21 justices for the Apex Court, but the court currently has just 10 justices, especially with the report of some deaths and following the retirement of Justice Musa Dachito just here in October. Now, last week, the NJC screened 22 candidates shortlisted by the Federal Judicial Council Commission. However, on Wednesday, the NJC uploaded the names of the successful candidates on its website. Now, among the shortlisted candidates is, I don't know whether my producer has it, Justice Haruna Samani from Bauchi State. Of course, we all remember Justice Haruna Samani of the tribunal that pronounced Tinubu, upheld the election of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu as President of the Federal Republic. We have Justice Samani of Bauchi State, who chaired the Presidential Election Petition Court that affirmed the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is from Bayelsa State. And then we'll have Justice Jumai Sankey from Plateau. We have Justice Chidiebere Uwa from Abia State. Then we have Justice Chioma Nwosuiheme from Imo State, making 2 Supreme Court justices nominees from the Southeast. Of course, we know that the Southeast has been bereft of justices. And just like Dachito advised, it is in the interest and even constitutional applying or weaponizing the Federal Character Commission to make sure that every geopolitical zone in Nigeria is represented, fully represented in the National Judicial Council. Now, Justice Obande Ogbunaya, then Justice Stephen Ada from Kogi State, then Justice Habib Abiru from Lagos State, Justice Jamilu Tukur, then you have Justice Abubakar Umar from Kebbi State, and Justice Mohammed Idris from Niger. And the NJC is expected to forward the names to the President for approval before Friday. We expect that the NJC should have forwarded that for the President's accent, and then from there we have a total number of 21 justices back at the Supreme Court, fully, with all the geopolitical zones fully represented. Remember that just recently the judiciary in Nigeria, even at federal and at subnational level, has been in the eye of the storm over perceived controversial judgments, whereas some interested parties or involved parties have also argued that the judiciary is not an institution that whips up emotions or does sentiments. It is always, upholding the rule of law and due process. So we expect that by the appointment of these new 11 justices and the balance of the Supreme Court, the judiciary will begin to evolve and be involved in some real judicial restructuring. All right, let us take a look at the next development. I don't know, is this video okay? Let's take a look at the next development. We have Director General of the Secret Police, DSS Yusuf Bichi. he has been alleged to be lobbying for the office of the Nigerian ambassador to Saudi Arabia after leaving service. And that allegation is from a strong presidential source. Now, following the palliative scandal rocking Nigeria's secret police, the Department of State Services, there are strong allegations that the DSS Director General, Yusuf Bichi, may be currently lobbying to get an ambassadorial appointment to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, a presidency source has informed correspondents just recently, although they are still at the realms of allegations. Nothing has been substantiated or confirmed, but of course, for every rumor, there's an iota, a significant proportion of iota of truth. Now, the source noted that Bichi would soon leave service, of course we know that, but he is pleading to get an ambassadorial position for Saudi Arabia to escape any probe, so the source had alleged. Now, I want to quote the source. The man that is talking about, Yusuf Bichi, the man has been asked to go, but he is demanding for a juicy ambassadorial position for Saudi Arabia. Now, the APC-led administration since the regime, Muhammadu Buhari, has been notorious for rewarding loyalists and cronies. Now, according to him, we recall that Buhari had gifted ambassadorial positions to some military chiefs under his government after they were asked to tender their resignation. One of them was former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, who was appointed as Nigeria's ambassador to the Benin Republic, despite reports of embezzlement of funds for arms procurement. Now, let us also recall that we had reported severally how the former Chief of Army Staff, General Buratai, used a military property firm to build a bakery for his relations and sponsor his wife on pilgrimages. Also reports on June 23rd, 2022, how the Independent Corrupt Practices and other related offenses commission, ICPC, recovered a whopping 1.85 billion naira from a house and office said to belong to Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, is still currently being considered for the ambassadorial position he requested by the presidency and the powers that be, whom had meritoriously served their interest while he holds sway, not minding the scandal on the palliative. Now, it should be recalled that Bichi was lately in the news on the allegation of appropriating subsidy grants meant for staff and paying himself a purported goodbye allowance, as he was believed to be on his way out of the DSS. Now, the DSS Director of Public Relations and Strategic Communications, Mr. Peter Afunaya, had denied both charges. And I quote him, "The service hereby states that the allegations are entirely false. It wishes to clarify that neither the DG nor anyone acting on his directive has looted staff subsidy grant. No such grant has been made available to the service, and once that is allocated, staff will, as usual, receive what is due to them. Mr. Bichi has, in all ramifications, evidently catered for the welfare of active and retired personnel." Now, this is common knowledge that can be verified by Ude. Similarly, the so-called goodbye allowance, which Ude accused the DG of granting himself, is non-existent. It is only an imagination of the writer and his sponsors. He says, now he quotes, and I continue, "He has remained resolute in running the service and shown uncommon commitment in the management of its affairs. His top priorities are staff welfare and judicious application of human and material resources." Now, any misleading narratives to the contrary are therefore unacceptable. Now, notably, the service is aware of the desperation and antics of Ude and his other hirelings to associate it with unnecessary controversies either during the 2023 presidential election or the subsequent litigations following it, he said. Now, we know that it is common to a lot of elected officials and even of appointees of government to always want a soft landing after their administration. You see, governors, after 8 years, want to make sure and ensure that they go into the Senate or House of Reps. You see ministers also lobbying after the administration for other positions to remain relevant at the reins of power and remain relevant at the source where they can always pull from our common patrimony to fit in their own personal needs. The question is, it is high time that Nigeria started building stronger institutions so that issues like this could be addressed. At this point, they are mere allegations, but when investigative journalists go into this matter, you will find out that some of them may be very, very, very factual and truthful. If Bichi has served as DG, Department of State Services, and there are a lot of allegations hovering around him, why will he then be lobbying for an ambassadorial position to become Nigeria's diplomat and have some level of immunity and continue in the largesse and continue in the corridors of power and continues in the corridors of relevance? All these questions are questions that are lingering in the minds of Nigerians. Where do we go from here? How can we make things better in such a way that the institutions will work better and the very, very first interest of every public servant will be the interest of the average Nigerian citizen? These are the questions on our minds. We'll go on another short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back. Join us again.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
for brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world. Watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord. I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Christmas season is here again. Are you aware that making your business or product visible on a television space gives your brand a wider visibility and patronage? In the spirit of the season, Spectrum Television is offering a whopping 25% discount on all services. Advertise your products and services while this offer lasts from 1st December 2023 to January 31st, 2024. We are a television with a passion to take your business and services on a satisfactory lane. You do not want to miss this opportunity. For more enquiries, visit our city office at number 2 Taft Plaza Close off Akaitinen Road, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, or call the following numbers on your screen. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
My assessment of that unfortunate incident of Sunday the 3rd of December 2023 is that it's grave, it's regrettable, but we will do everything possible to prevent such an occurrence happening again in the conduct of our operations going forward. I've gone around to visit and interact with the members of the community. I've come again now to the hospital to see the injured. And this will help me to know the level of expertise that I need to put on the table in conducting the inquiry into what happened on Sunday, so that that inquiry can come up with relevant recommendations that will guide us in the conduct of our operations going forward. The community has been enjoined to view what happened as just a temporary setback. It was not intended. It's regrettable, it's unfortunate, and we'll work with the community to provide necessary support to the community as a whole and to the injured persons so that they can quickly regain their health. We are more encouraged by the support shown by the members of the community, even the injured ones here in the hospital. And that will go a long way to spur the troops, to provide security, to provide an enabling environment for law-abiding citizens to go about their businesses. The troops will continue with the conduct of their operations. What we need to do is to fine-tune our operations such that we do not have this kind of lapses that will lead to unfortunate loss of life. My assessment of that unfortunate incident of Sunday, the 3rd of December 2023 is that it's grave, it's regrettable, but we will do everything possible to prevent such an occurrence happening again in the conduct of our operations going forward. I've gone around to visit and interact with the members of the community. I've come again now to the hospital to see the injured. And this will help me to know the level of expertise that I need to put on the table in conducting the inquiry into what happened on Sunday, so that that inquiry can come up with relevant recommendations that will guide us in the conduct of our operations going forward. The community has been enjoined to view what happened as just a temporary setback. It was not intended. It's regrettable, it's unfortunate, and we'll work with the community to provide necessary support to the community as a whole and to the injured persons so that they can quickly regain their health. We are more encouraged by the support shown by the members of the community, even the injured ones here in the hospital. And that will go a long way to spur the troops, to provide security, to provide an enabling environment for law-abiding citizens to go about their businesses. The troops will continue with the conduct of their operations. What we need to do is to fine-tune our operations such that we do not have this kind of lapses that will lead to unfortunate loss.
All right, many thanks for staying tuned. Let's move on the show. We just played back a video clip of Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, stating categorically that Army takes responsibility for the Kaduna bombing, the unfortunate Kaduna bombing, and that his visit was to see the on-the-spot assessment and then go back and strategize moving forward. And he also used the opportunity to say that he will do everything within his possible best to make sure that the Nigerian Army does not make such mistakes again. Mistakes. Okay. We've been looking at almost between almost 2 years now. There's been more than 3 or 4 occurrences of such, you know, in our Nigerian military institution. But here is another very vocal human rights and human advocacy civil society organization, the Amnesty International, alleging or accusing or accusing fingers to the Nigerian military, saying the Nigerian military is attempting to cover up mass killings of civilians in Kaduna. Now, the human rights advocacy organization Amnesty International Nigeria has called on the Nigerian government to investigate the killing of scores of civilians by a military drone in Kaduna, northwest of Nigeria. Now, according to the organization in a statement on Wednesday, Nigerian authorities must promptly, thoroughly, independently, impartially, and transparently and effectively investigate the killings of more than 120 civilians in 2 military airstrikes on Sunday. Now, instead of engaging in attempts to cover up the crime, Isa Sanusi, that's the director of Amnesty International, had said. Now, he noted that the military authorities had made contrasting statements regarding the tragedy. Now, he said, and I quote, "At around 10 p.m. on December the 3rd, the Nigerian military launched an airstrike on a religious gathering at Tundumbiri, a village near Kaduna, northern Nigeria. A second airstrike was launched around 30 minutes later, killing dozens, including those who rushed to the scene to rescue victims of the initial strike. The Nigerian military has since put out 2 contradictory explanations. An initial statement by the Nigerian Army in Kaduna said the airstrike was a mistake. This was then quickly followed up by a statement from the Nigeria's defense headquarters claiming that the suspected bandits had embedded with the civilians. Now, the victims were buried in 2 mass graves on the 4th of December 2023. The Nigerian military recklessness is a result of the authorities' consistent failure to hold them to account for a long list of similar atrocities within a short period of time. Amnesty continues to accuse the Nigerian military and accuse the federal government. Now it continues. These unlawful killings of civilians cannot be swept under the carpet, they said. Sanusi continues, the President Bola Tinubu administration must promptly set up an independent inquiry into Tundumbiri village airstrike, and victims alongside their families must be provided with access to justice and effective remedies. Now, Amnesty International said it found over 77 people were buried in one of the 2 mass graves, and the other, over 17 people from a nearby village who attended the religious ceremony, were also buried. Now, dozens of people severely injured are currently receiving treatment at Kaduna's main hospital, he noted. I want to continue Sanusi's quote. The contradictory explanation offered by the Nigerian military so far shows their complete disregard for civilian lives and suggests attempts by the authorities to cover up these grave human rights violations. Airstrikes with deadly consequences for civilians are becoming routine, especially within the Nigerian military. This is completely unacceptable. Sanusi continued to lash on. The organization recalled that in December 18, 2022, just barely a year ago, an airstrike by the Nigerian Air Force killed 64 people in Mutumji village in Zamfara, local government, Zamfara state. Also, on January 24th, less than about 11 months ago, 2023, a military airstrike killed more than 40 herders in Doma region of Nasarawa State. Again, in January 2023, dozens of vigilantes were killed by a military airstrike in Galadima, Kogo in Niger State, which is the central part of Nigeria, not central of Nigeria. Now, the Nigerian military has consistently failed to thoroughly, independently, impartially, transparently, and effectively investigate these incidents. The organization continues to lament. Sanusi says, and I quote him, "The Nigerian authorities' persistent failure to hold the military to account is encouraging impunity and increasingly endangering the lives of the civilians the military is supposed to be protecting. The result is that the military is routinely carrying out airstrikes that end up killing civilians," Sanusi says. Now, according to him and according to a lot of other people, they refer to this attack as the deadliest airstrike since 2017 airstrike on the Ran village, which killed 115 civilians. And then the count goes on and on and on and on. We thought we had seen the last of it under the Buhari, administration, where innocent lives were being taken either by bandits or by Boko Haram or by insurgents. But here we have now a long list of airstrikes and bombings from the Nigerian military, who is saddled first with the responsibility of protecting the territorial integrity of the Nigerian state, and secondly, or directly, protecting the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, now be the ones orchestrating bombings of innocent Nigerians and claiming it was a mistake. And just like Transparency International had come out to say that they are making two contradictory statements. One, that it was an honest mistake. Then secondly, they are saying that they also noticed that some of the terrorists moved in and used innocent human lives as cover away from the attack. Which statement do we believe from the Nigerian military? So there is a lot of advocacy, there is a lot of cry and hue that the Nigerian military has to come clean. And secondly, that the presidency or the federal government must begin to work out modalities to make sure that the army is held accountable for any of such misdeeds, especially the one that costs the life of the average Nigerian, innocent Nigerian citizen. As at these last bombings, there were records of many women and many children, as well as many teenagers being killed, their lives being cut short in a day that they never thought any harm would have come to them. A lot more is expected from the federal government. A lot more is expected from the army. Of course, we understand that the army will come and say that it has its own mechanisms for checking and regulating misdeeds, mutinies, and misconducts of the military officers. But when the hierarchy of the Nigerian military is involved in some kind of activities that have become criminal, can the Nigerian military hierarchy also be a judge in its case? All these are questions that are lingering in the minds of the average Nigerian. All right, we'll go on another very short break. We'll be right back on our final story, and we'll begin to wrap up the show. If you've been watching, feel free. Very soon we'll throw the phone lines open for those of you who have your thoughts on the issue of the Kaduna bombings to call in and let's have your opinions and thoughts. Very soon the phone numbers will be displayed on the screen for you to have your contributions. Also remember that on our social media platforms, especially on X, formerly known as Twitter, you can drop your comments and we'll be sure to display it and respond if need be. If you have not followed Spectrum TV, remember to follow Spectrum TV on X at SpectrumT Online. You can also follow me at Austin Honor, one word, to drop your comments, your opinions about the issues, and then you're sure to get a feedback from us. we'll go on a short break. We're a few minutes late for a break. We'll go on a short break thereafter. We'll be right back to take the final development and then begin to wrap up for the day.
Broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world. Watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
All right, many thanks for staying tuned. Our last development was about the human rights advocacy group, Amnesty International, accusing figures on the military that the actions were somewhat deliberate and charging them to take responsibility, also telling federal government to tighten its ropes as per bringing people to account who have committed heinous acts of crime and antisocial characteristics and human traits. All right, now the Minister of State of Defense, Dr. Mohammed Bello Matawale Maradun, has said that the Army's bombing error at Tundumbiri in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State also, which led to the death of no fewer than 100 persons, will not affect the fight or the war against banditry and terrorism. Now, the Army had mistaken the villagers for bandits, according to the Minister of Defense. Now, Bello spoke during a condolence visit to the victims in Kaduna while leading a high-level federal government delegation, which included 1, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa; 2, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja; 3, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense, Dr. Ibrahim Kanna, among others. Now, the minister spoke as death toll of the bombing error rose to 127, with the United Nations deploring the sad incident, while a civil society group, the Building Blocks for Peace Foundation, BBF for Peace, sought a comprehensive revamp of the nation's security architecture. Now, expressing federal government's condolence to the victim of the mishap, Matawale said that despite the unfortunate incident, the fight against insurgency and terrorism must continue. Now, he states, and I quote him, "We are not going to relent in our fight against terrorism because these criminals must be defeated. We are going to continue fighting the criminals till we succeed against banditry and other criminalities in this country," he has said. Now he continues. He said the president, that is President Bola Tinubu, had directed that the lead a high-level delegation to pay condolence visit to the good people of government of Kaduna State. But a lot of questions are coming up. Is that enough? Is that all that is left? You know, is that all that the federal government can do? Condolence, high-level condolence visit to the government of Kaduna State over sad event, as well as families of the victims. Now, both those that died and the ones receiving treatment in hospitals are expected to be given some very, very special attention. And above all, ideally, we should see a situation where statements are now made to make sure that modalities are being put in place so that such errors will not happen or be cut down to the barest minimum. Now, according to the minister visited the Barau Diko Teaching Hospital in Kaduna, where injured victims were receiving treatments, and the government house, Kaduna also. Now, the former Zamfara governor, Matawale, assured the state government that the federal government will do everything possible to support families of the victims and set up a powerful panel of inquiry to ascertain the cause of the incident to prevent future occurrence. Now, that statement sounds pretty much interesting and sounds reassuring. But we've had situations where when these kind of things happen, remember that hardly do we have, after statements, everything is just swept into, down, into the carpet, and nothing is heard of it again. I just read a few of the similar mistakes from military between 2022 and now, almost about 4 of such killings of innocent lives and of citizens, especially that of women and children, which the United Nations completely frown at. All right, if you are following us and you probably may have 1 or 2 opinions about these sad incidents and maybe 1 or 2 insights, we urge you to call us on 0704 5417707 as displayed on your screen. Let us engage on these conversations. What should be the next action of government is we have taken responsibility and we are sorry and we'll make sure that doesn't happen. Is that enough from the military? I watched an interview recently where one very high-leveled member of the Arewa Elders Forum made very, very clear statements that the army should not have any business investigating itself, and that a very, very high-powered investigative panel be constituted from the presidency, which must be headed by a former attorney general or a former chief justice of the federation, and then should also have former elements in the military, maybe a retired colonel or a retired general or a retired lieutenant general, so that the investigation will be thorough and in-depth, and probably draw a pattern towards the trends of those situations. All right, I think we have our first caller. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I am Ongumos calling from Yobe State.
Okay, welcome on the show from Yobe State. How is Yobe this morning?
Yobe is cool, sir. Thank God, sir.
All right, let's have your comment on the unfortunate incident. Yobe is not too far from Kaduna, is it?
Yes, sir. But the incident is unfortunate because the government and politicians are taking the life of citizens for granted. This is just what happened in Imo, where they sent up to go and beat up the...
Okay, we may be having some drop calls there. If you can hear me, the gentleman from Yobe State, please call us back and let's have your take on the issue. Preferably, we would prefer people from Kaduna at this point to help us shed more light on the unfortunate incident and how it is being handled. We understand that even at the place, majority of the dead have been given mass burials. What is left now is for federal and state governments to get to the families of those that are deceased to try to work out some kind of compensatory mechanism to, to allay the fears and the sadness of these people. And the earlier we begin to work out a strategy with which the military, especially, and other institutions that claim to always want to investigate themselves, the earlier we start working on modalities for regulating these people so that they do not get away with certain things, the better. Because I expect at this point, certain resignations should have been announced. To be very, very fair, a lot of people have also said that the Chief of Army Staff is either supposed to have announced certain names that they have been relieved of their responsibilities, or even the Chief of Army Staff himself should have resigned over such a very terrible act. Anyway, 0704-541-7707 is the number to call to contribute, towards this conversation as we begin to wrap up on the show. And yet we have seen former Zamfara Governor Bello Matawalle coming out to say, in spite of the unfortunate incident, the fight against banditry and terrorism and insurgency will not cease. But we expect that at this point, military should be more strategic at fighting this faceless war. Of course, we know it is a faceless war where the people who attack you do not tell you they are coming. You do not know where they would be. They just attack and then they get away with it. Sometimes they cut away properties. Sometimes they take human lives as shield or abduct them, for negotiations. And some even adopt them for ransom and quote all sorts of millions of money. We expect that the military should be a little bit more vigilant in fighting this war. Good morning to you if you can hear me. All right, that's another drop call. That could be due to network issues. Continue to try to reach us on 0704-541-7707. That's the number to call. And remember that you can also tweet at us on X at SpectrumT Online. Of course, once you drop your message, we're sure to see it. We're sure to read it out, for further reactions, because your opinion matters in this issue. If a certain philosopher has once said that wars, even wars of nations, where there's been bloodshed and killings of thousands of people, are settled by dialogue. And dialogue is by conversation. I hear your opinion, you hear mine, and then we'll come to an agreeable position to make things better for us? Is the military supposed to be held even more responsible? Is federal government supposed to shake up, the people responsible or not? These are questions lingering in the minds of Nigerians. Good morning to you. Good morning. All right, if you can hear me, increase the volume of, I don't know whether, if you can hear me. Okay, keep trying to call us, 0704-54-17707, or you can tweet at us at SpectrumT Online. Yes, you can. Good morning. Good morning to you. Welcome. What's your name and where you calling from? I can hear you clearly. Go on. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Okay, we might be having a lot of drop calls this morning. We hope that one of you is able to reach us because we're wrapping up on the show. Share with us what your opinion is on the Kaduna bombings of innocent lives. As per, the destruction and the mayhem it may have caused, and even other former mistakes according to the Nigerian military. Hello, good morning. Good morning to you. Okay, we still may be having issues. I'm afraid, I don't know whether we can squeeze in one more extra call. If you can hear me, try and make one more call so that we can shut down today's edition of the show. The major discussion is the bombing of lives in Kaduna. Hello, good morning to you. Okay, my producer is telling me that we may not be able to take one more call. All right, it's been an exciting journey so far. We have brought to you some of the developments in our nation's polity. We started from Akwa Ibom, where the State Assembly has said that they want to legislate, or they have been legislating, or they will legislate for the executive governor to be able to take care of local councils immediately after the expiration of the constitutional expiration of the elected chairmen of those local councils. We wish them the best. All right, on this note, I'd like to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. Those of you who have tried to call us and couldn't get through to us, due apologies. We hope that the networks will be better so that the conversations will continue. Remember, the conversation around deepening democracy and nation building is never exhausted. I remain yours sincerely, Onwese Ehinoma Olusegun, signing out and saying have a great day. See you on the next edition of Political Spectrum. Bye for now.